Good afternoon, children. Yesterday we read that besides lot of security that was made by the governor, still Evans managed to escape, and not only this, he even wounded McCleary badly, according to Stephens and the other prison officers. And McCleary said that he knew where Evans had gone. Detective Superintendent Carter was called by the governor and he was given instructions to take McCleary along with him because he only had an idea where Evans had gone. On the other side, the governor was translating the German text into English and was trying to find out where Evans could have gone. He was very irritated at the officers who were recruited to see that Evans doesn't manage to escape. We are on page number 84, children, of our text Vistas. What was the use of rebuking the officers when governor knew that he himself was also at fault? So let's begin, children. Continue the lesson, children. He shook his head in growing despair and turned on the senior prison officer. As for you, Jackson, how long have you been pretending you have got a brain here? Well, I'll tell you something, Jackson. Your skull's empty. Absolutely empty. It was Jackson who had spent 2 hours in Ivan's cell the previous evening. And it was Jackson who had confidently reported that there was nothing hidden away there. Nothing at all. And yet Evans had somehow managed to conceal not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and all the rest of his clerical paraphernalia, but also some sort of weapon with which he had given McCleary such a terrible blow across the head. Arr! So governor was very irritated. He had though ran to the examination, he had tried to ring to the examination board twice, but he could not be successful. And on the other hand, he was when irritated with Jackson, he thought that Jackson was asked to report that nothing is left in the cell that could help Evans to escape. Still, Evans was managed to have in his cell not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, dog collar, and clerical paraphernalia means the dress that parson wears. So that, but also a weapon with which he gave a terrible blow to McCleary. A prison van backed alongside, but the governor made no immediate move because he was still translating the German text. He looked down again at the last line of the German. To the Headington roundabout, where you go straight over and make your way to New Graben. New Graben, where on earth, new something, new grave, never heard of it. There was a war grave, so these were the assumptions of the governor while he was translating. Word somewhere near reading, but no, it was probably a code word, or and then it hit him. Newbury, God, yes, Newbury was a pretty big sort of place, but had he really gone to Newbury? That was a question mark. He rapped out his orders to the driver, sent Aldate's police station, and step on it. Take Jackson and Stephens here, and when you get there, ask for Bill. Chief Inspector Bill. Got that? He leaped the stairs to his office 3 at a time, got Bell on the phone immediately, and put the facts before him. So he presented the complete information in front of Chief Inspector Bell, who was the police officer there at St. Aldate's police station. Children, now actually what happens, the area wise the things are divided, and governor thought that at Newbury Evans must have escaped, and so he called Chief Inspector Bill. We'll get him, sir, said Bill. We'll get him with a bit of luck. A bit of luck? What is bit of luck here referring to? The superimposed sheet that the governor was able to translate. that was put on the back side of the question paper. The governor sat back and lit a cigarette. Yo gods, what a beautifully laid plan it had all been. So he was appreciating Evans for his intelligent plan. What a clever fellow Evans was, careless leaving that question paper behind. But then they all made their mistakes somewhere along the line. So each and everyone had made one or the other mistake. He had made some mistakes, Mr. Jackson had made some mistakes, Mr. Stephens had made some mistakes, so Evans had made also a mistake by leaving that paper there. Well, almost all of them, and that's why very shortly Mr. Clever Evans would be back inside doing his once more. The phone on his desk erupted in the strident burst. Suddenly the phone rang, and Superintendent Carter informed him that McCleary had spotted Evans driving off along Elsfield Way. That they had got the number of the car all right and had given chase immediately, but I lost him at the Headington roundabout. He must have doubled back into the city. This was the idea of Superintendent Carter. No, said the governor quietly. No, he is on his way to Newbury. He explained his reasons for believing so. So governor said to him that he had understood the code word and Evans must have reached Newbury till now. So explained the reasons and left it at that. It was a police job now, not his. He was just another good for a gullible governor. That was all. So a governor who should be laughed at. Governor who left the loopholes to take the advantage. The governor who allowed Evans to escape even after having maximum security there. By the way, Carter, I hope you managed to get McCleary to the hospital all right? Yes, Carter said on phone. He is in the Redcliffe now. Really groggy. He was becoming unconscious, he was. When we got to the examination offices and they rang for the ambulance from there. The governor rang the Redcliffe a few minutes later and asked for accident department. McCleary, you say? Somebody from the accident department of the hospital asked. Yes, he is a parson. I don't think there's anyone. So, McCleary has not reached hospital. Yes, there is. You will find one, the governor said. You will find one of your ambulances picked him up from Elsfield Way, about from the examination board office. Oh, that, yes, we sent an ambulance, all right. But when we got there, the fellow had gone. No one seemed to know where he was. Just vanished, means just disappeared. Not a sign of McCleary was there. It means, children, that the person who pretended to be McCleary was not actually McCleary. If he would have been McCleary and if he would have been wounded so badly, he would have been lying in the hospital with the help of examination board. But he was not there. But the governor was no longer listening, and the truth seemed to hit him with an almost physical impact somewhere in the back of his neck. A quarter of an hour later, they found governor and his people went to the Reverend S. McCleary's flat, Broad Street flat. And what did they find there? They found the Reverend S. McCleary securely bound and gagged. So he was bound and gagged in his chair there, in his study room, in his study in Broad Street flat. He had been there, he said, since 8:15 a.m. You remember the time when McCleary came out? Actually, the McCleary who came out at 8:45 from Broad Street flat, he was not the original McCleary. He was the assumed McCleary, the fake one, and the real was bound at 8:15 when two men had called, and so two men had called there, two men went there and bound and gagged the real McCleary there. Inquiries in Newbury throughout the afternoon produced nothing. According to the German text that was translated by the governor, Evans should have reached Newbury, and therefore the police officer, Chief Inspector Bell, and the other officers, they were trying to find out, searched for the complete day in Newbury, but there they could not find Evans. So it suggested that it was all a twist, a turn. It was only to make those people confused. So Evans did not reach. Actually, if he would have been Evans, and if the orders or the things that were written on the paper that were all correct, then Evans should have reached Newbury. But Evans did not reach Newbury, so it was all the confusion that was created by Evans and his people, so that Evans got the opportunity to reach somewhere else. Inquiries in Newbury throughout the afternoon produced nothing at all, and by tea time everyone in the prison knew what had happened. It had not been Evans impersonating McCleary who had walked out, it had been Evans impersonating McCleary who had stayed in. So, children, the person who moved out from the prison first was the assumed McCleary who had come to help out Evans in escaping, and the person who went out along with Detective Superintendent Carter, Stephens and Jackson, he was actually Evans, who had worn the dress of the parson and the complete clerical paraphernalia and escaped from the prison in front of everyone. So, Evans was the second one to move out of the prison.